Hey everybody, welcome to episode number 75 of Cameron's Nostalgia Podcast. I'm your host, Cameron Strickland, and today I have with me Angelo Hat. How are you?
I'm doing great, Cameron. How are you doing?
I've been doing good.
Good to hear.
Now, for any of you guys who don't know, Angelo is a animation director for Little Big Awesome,
Yep.
Fairfax, Thundercats Roar, and China IL.
China, Illinois. That was an Adult Swim
Illinois.
show.
Nice. So, how did you get interested in animation?
So I started drawing at a very young age. Um, and really, really loved drawing throughout my whole childhood. Did pretty well at it, kind of had a knack for it. And growing up on Long Island, I didn't really know that animation was a career path that I could take. I was studying to become a fine artist, so I did painting and drawing. It wasn't until I went to college where I realized, like, oh, I can make a career out of this. I went to school up in Boston at a school called the School of Museum of Fine Arts. It's part of Tufts University, and my first animation class there had me falling in love with animation immediately, because I was able to draw, paint, sculpt, whatever type of fine art I was used to doing. But I was also able to couple that with filmmaking, sound design, music, all things that I love. So it was kind of a combination of all these different art forms in one, and I immediately got drawn to it. So I didn't really start animating until I got into college. And I did 4 years there, and then been working professionally since 2009 after I graduated.
Nice.
Yep.
So, you worked for S.C. McGee as an intern.
hmm Yeah, that was an interesting show. That was done out of Boston. It was an Adult Swim show. It was about an ass that was a police officer. Very, very crude show. I think it ran for a few seasons, but it was very formative in my adult animation career. It was the first that I worked on as an intern. And it was really cool seeing the whole process to come together from script writing to voice acting to design to final animation. Gave me a good little window into what a studio, how a studio works.
And you worked for the DJ and the Fro as an animator.
Yep, that was my first job. It was a show on MTV that had a pretty short run. But I started working at Titmouse Inc. on that show. Titmouse has been the main studio that I've been working for the past 15 years. I did a little bit of time at Warner Brothers and a little bit of time at Disney as well. But I've been mainly working with Titmouse. So DJ and the Fro was the first Titmouse show that I worked on.
Have you ever worked for Sesame Street?
I haven't, but I really wish that I could have worked for Sesame Street. I have a good friend who did animation for Sesame Street in when he was living in New York City. Um, and that always just sounded to me like one of the coolest gigs that you can get. So I haven't worked for Sesame Street. Maybe one day. We'll see. Maybe one day.
What was his name?
Oh, my friend who worked for Sesame Street, his name is Gary Doodles.
Gary Doodles.
Yeah, you should check out his stuff. It's really fun.
He was the creator of Breadwinners.
Hmm.
And he works for Breaknik the musical.
Free Connect the Musical. That was another Adult Swim. That was actually an Adult Swim movie. And we had a lot of voice actors were rappers. The movie was actually co-written by the rapper T-Pain. But we had Snoop Dogg in it. We had Lil Wayne. I'm blanking on other people, but you can definitely look it up on IMDb. It was a great piece to work on. A lot of fun. It was cool doing a feature length film for Adult Swim. They don't really do that too often unless it's directly from a show. Um, like Metalocalypse had a feature, but this was an original feature, which is pretty cool to work on at the time.
So he works for Bob's Burgers as an animator.
Yep. I worked on the first two seasons of Bob's Burgers. I was over at Bento Box Entertainment, and they had an in-house animation team. So I did anything from animating shots from scratch to fixing animation that was coming back from overseas studios, to animating the dances for the closing credits, where the characters are dancing, or sometimes they had little skits in the closing credits. We do that as well. That was a lot of fun. That was the first major, adult sitcom that I worked on, akin to like Simpsons or King of the Hill. Like that was the first one at that caliber. It was really a lot of fun.
And he works for China, Illinois.
Yeah, China, Illinois was after Bob's Burgers, and actually as I was rolling off of Bob's Burgers, I started on China, Illinois as an animator. That was a show for Adult Swim. It ran for 3 seasons. I was there for all 3 seasons. Season one, I was an animator. Um, Season two, I became the animation director. And then season three, I was an episodic director. So a lot of people in animation, they come up to being directors through storyboarding, which makes sense. A lot of the trajectory is you become a storyboard revisionist first, then you become a storyboard artist, and then you become either a storyboard supervisor or an assistant director, and then you become an episodic director. But I took an animation path. So I went from an animator, to animation director, to episodic director. It's not a very usual path, but some people do it that way. I think it's beneficial because you get really a good handle on the animation, and timing especially is very important. And also the kind of more subdued emotions that you can give a character. Learning all that stuff through animation, I think, really helped me as a director.
Nice. You worked on Community as an animator.
Yeah, there was an 8-bit style episode where the characters go into a video game, and I was a lead animator on that. So we created all these little sprites as you would for a video game, and animated fight scenes, some video game kind of like 2D platformer sort of scenes. And then I animated the big final fight for that episode, where the big final boss fight. And that was just really cool because I've never done something like that before, and I've always been a fan of side scrollers like Metal Slug, and of course Mario, all the Mario games and everything. So it's kind of cool to jump into that world for a minute. It's very interesting.
And you worked for Black Dynamite.
Yeah, Black Dynamite was another Adult Swim show. It was based off of the film. They made a show based off of the hit cult film Black Dynamite, which is like a blaxploitation kung fu film. That show was a lot of work. The characters were very, very detailed. So animating those characters, it just took a while. It took a while for each drawing. But I learned a lot on that show about how to use shadows, how to use form, and little kind of tricks and cheats to make something that looks very dynamic, a little bit more digestible.
And you worked on a short film called To Be Determined.
Yes, that was a short film that a friend of mine had made. I did the title animation for that. So the title of the film, all hand animated. I can't quite remember what I did. I think it might have just been some sort of text animation. Um, but yeah, that was a title animation, which I don't really do that often, but it was for a friend, so I figured I would help her out and do it for her.
You worked for Trip Tank.
Trip Tank, yeah. That one I think was on a freelance basis. I had a friend who was doing a couple shorts there, and I storyboarded those shorts. They were called Beer Cops, about a couple of cops that only responded to calls that had to do with beer. And then they would arrive and they would drink all the beer themselves. That was the basic setup for that one.
And you worked for Future Worm.
Yeah, Future Worm was the first and only Disney show that I worked on. I um I got on the crew initially to do storyboard and animatic punch up, and I storyboarded an episode, and then I segued into becoming the retakes director. So I was overseeing all animation that came in from overseas and doing animation notes, giving notes to our technical directors to try to, make the acting better, make some of the action better. Um, and yeah, and that was over at Disney, which great company to work for out of I think all the major places. That was my favorite. Um, and you get free Disney passes, which is great. You get to go to Disneyland for free. Great perk.
And you worked for Brad Neely's Hard Nailing Slopio People.
Hargnallen Sclopio Pipio. Um, the title of that show was actually a joke. We originally called the show TV Sucks, but the head of Adult Swim didn't want to call it that. So we basically wrote a bunch of words onto a whiteboard and circled a few of them and then sent that in an email to the head of Adult Swim, and he said, "We love it." So we never thought that name would stick. But that show was interesting because it was a collection of different shorts, anywhere from like 30 seconds to 2 minutes long. So each episode had like short segments, almost like SNL has, like a variety show has. Um, and it can be anything from like a commercial about a weird, random, surreal product to a small story about one character or a group of characters. Sometimes there were music videos, little music videos that we were animating. So yeah, that was a lot of fun. I was a supervising director on that show, and that was my first show that I supervised. I also wrote a couple of the skits, so it's a first writing credit that I got was on that show as well.
And you worked for 4 episodes of Little Big Awesome.
Yeah, are you a fan of Little Big Awesome?
Yes.
I love that show. It was so much fun. The two main characters were great, Cluco and Lennon. Really loved that. Actually, one of the episodes that I directed was nominated for an Annie Award on that show. It's kind of like the animation Emmys. It was this episode called Puppy Shower. I don't know if you've seen that one. Have you seen that one?
Yes.
Yeah, so that one, as you know, had puppets. There was a puppet segment in it, and then it also had real puppies. So it was one day where we had to actually film real puppies with the puppets. I didn't go to the shoot, but unfortunately, but all the footage they came back was so funny. It's very difficult to make puppies act, believe it or not. They don't do too well in front of a camera. They don't listen. But yeah, that show was great. I especially loved all the multimedia because we did 2D and then puppets as well. Gluco and Lemon would go through a doorway and then come out as like live action puppets. There was a little bit of 3D animation in it as well, but really really fun show. I wish that one continued.
And do you have a behind the scenes footage or photos of Little Big Awesome?
I wish I did. That would be a great thing to have. I'll need to ask my producer to see if he has those.
What was the producer's name?
I can't remember, but you should be able to find it on IMDb.
Do you have a favorite episode?
Little Big Awesome. Let me think. I think Puppy Shower might be my favorite one. That's the one that I have the fondest memories of, and it was a lot of fun. I think it also might have been my first episode on that show.
And you met the Swazzle brothers,
Who are them? Swalzer Brothers?
Patrick and Sean,
Oh, I don't know who they are.
puppeteers.
Oh, they puppeted the puppets for that show. Yeah, that's right. It was so long ago. I think that was 2016, so I might be forgetting some details. Thank you for reminding me about that. Yeah, those guys are great.
You worked for Mau, Heroes of Pure Heart.
Have you seen that show before?
I haven't
It was
seen it.
it was on Cartoon Network. I don't know if they have any more episodes up on the internet. They might. Maybe they have some on HBO Max. That was a cool show. It was about a cat who is a samurai, and he was the sheriff of a town full of cute little animals, kind of like Care Bear type animals. And he would protect that town from monsters that would try to invade. So that had a really cool kind of anime comedy tone to it, which was a lot of fun. A lot of really dynamic fight scenes and cutesy anime graphics and stuff like that. I was a writer and storyboard artist on that show.
And you worked for Feels Good Man.
Feels good, man. Yeah, that is a documentary about Pepe the Frog and how he was created into a meme out of the creator Matt Fury's hands, out of his control. I animated a few scenes in that documentary, a few scenes of Pepe the Frog. It was really fun.
And you worked for Thundercats Roar.
Yep. Have you watched that one?
I haven't watched it.
That was a cool kind of cartoony version of Thundercats. So it took all the silliness of the original series and made that the focal point versus making just the action the vocal point. There was some cool action in it too. But overall, the episodes are very silly, very cartoony.
What else do we have here? You worked for Housebroken.
Housebroken, yeah. I directed the pilot of Housebroken. And then for the series, I was a consulting director. So I would be sent animatics and I would give notes on animatics and do punch ups on jokes and stuff like that. Um, I was doing that at the same time as doing Fairfax. So that was more on a freelance basis, but it was a lot of fun getting to consult on a show. I'd never done that before. You're able just to they just send you episodes, you give your notes and send them back, and then hopefully they take all your notes and do them for the show.
And you worked for Fairfax.
Yep, Fairfax was my first major supervising director role. That was for Amazon. We did two seasons back to back during the pandemic lockdown. That show was a challenge because had to try to figure out how to make a show completely from home. But we did it. We figured it out, and look, now a lot of people work from home exclusively. So we found a way, and it kind of stuck.
And finally, you got to work on the second best hospital in the galaxy.
Yep, that I worked as a retake director on that show. So the same thing I did on Future Worm. Any animation that came in, I would review it and I'd give notes and I would try to direct it to match the acting or the line reads better and make the action look clearer. Sometimes on that show, there were a lot of color issues where they were using incorrect colors at the overseas studio. So I kind of had my finger in every part of that on the post-production side. And we did two seasons of that show as well, back to back.
And also, we have a lot of Little Big Awesome fans out there.
Yeah, and I know you're a fan. That show, like I said, was a lot of fun. I wish it kept on going. Yeah, why don't I tell you about the new show that I just finished working on that's supposed to come out next year?
What's it called?
It's called Kevin. It's for Amazon, and just finished that a couple weeks ago, the first season. It'll come out on Amazon sometime next year, but that one is about a cat who decides that he doesn't want to live with people anymore. So he kind of goes out on his own and makes a bunch of friends at this pet rescue that he ends up living at. It's an adult show, so the jokes are pretty crass. But we have a big all-star cast on that show. The main character, Kevin, he's played by Jason Schwartzman. And then we have the supporting cast is Whoopi Goldberg, John Waters, Amy Sedaris. So we have a lot of well-known comedians on the show, and the show is very, very funny. Hopefully, we announce a premiere date soon, so everybody can know when it comes out. Um, but I'm very excited about that one. I think people are going to find it very funny, and the animals are very cute. The characters are very cute because they're pets. Everybody loves pets.
And do you watch Baby Einstein?
No, I haven't seen Baby Einstein. Do you recommend that show?
Yes.
I will definitely watch that show, and I'll show it to my kids too. I have two kids. I'm sure they would love it.
What are their names?
I don't want to disclose that information on a podcast, but thank you for asking.
Oh, okay, sorry about that.
That's okay. Are there any other shows that you enjoy that you would recommend right now? Animated shows?
I watched Robot Chicken,
Oh yeah, Robot Chicken's hilarious. Do you
and
like any other Adult Swim shows?
there's Family Guy.
Family Guy, yep. I see you have a Kermit puppet behind you there. You're a fan of the Muppets, I take it?
Yes.
Jim Henson Studios is in Hollywood, and it is close to where I used to live. And they have a big, giant Kermit the Frog statue out front. He has like a cane and a top hat. It's pretty cool.
So you must be a surfer.
Yes, I do surf. That is one of my hobbies. Surfing and playing the drums are my two main hobbies. I unfortunately don't surf as much as I would like, um, but I play the drums pretty often. I play in a rock band right now.
What was the rock band called?
Super terrific.
Super Terrific.
Super terrific. Yep. You should give it a listen. Yep, that's it. You got it. Yep, that's us.
All right. And how did you get interested in surfing?
Well, I grew up on Long Island and living very close to the beach. So my mom would take us to the beach every day during the summer to try to get our energy out. And I just, started surfing there around the age of 13, 14 and fell in love and still do it to this day.
And how did you get interested in music?
I always had an attraction to music when I was young. And then there was the opportunity to learn an instrument in elementary school. I want to say it was third or fourth grade. And I took that opportunity to learn drums. And so I played drums all throughout elementary school and high school. And I really, really wanted a drum set of my own. But my dad told me that he would get me one only if I committed to being in the school band for all of elementary school. So I committed to it and I played it. I got better and better. And finally, I was given a drum set for one of my birthdays in high school. I think I was a freshman in high school. And then from there, I started playing with friends who played guitar and bass and sang. We started writing songs and playing local shows in friends' basements and friends' backyards, sometime at the beach. Um, and yeah, it's always been a fun hobby of mine. At one point in my life, I had to decide if I wanted to do music or animation, and I decided to go the animation route.
Nice. Well, Angelo, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks so much, Cameron. It was great. Best of luck with your podcast. I think you're doing an awesome job. And let me know when you get to 100. You said you're at 75 right now? 75 interviews?
We've made it all the way to 75 episodes.
Wow. You know what? 100 is right around the corner. You can do it.
All right.
All right, Cameron, thank you so much for talking with me.
Is there anything else you'd like to say?
No, I think you pretty much covered it all. I appreciate it.
Nice. Stay tuned for there'll be more guests coming up. Until next time. Peace.
Peace.